What is up, guys? My name is Kizzy here. This is the part 3 of the how-to series, how to make a film. If you guys haven't seen part 1 or part 2, check it out. Links are in the description. And let's just skip all the formalities and let's just get right into it. This is the post-production. So, post-production is my favorite part. I love post-production because I love to write. And for me, I love the writing process and I love the editing process and the crafting and the cutting and the enhancing of films from just because for me in my head I see the film, and so when I get to the post-production and it can be even better than what I've ever imagined, then I get giddy. And so what I usually do is I get the film, and if I'm editing it, then I'll take it and I'll edit. If my editor's editing it, if I have an editor, then which I usually do, I send it to them. And the reason why I usually have an editor, even though I edit, is because they'll see the film in a certain way that you'll never see it. Because you got to realize no one's, usually, especially in the indie world, no one's just an editor. No one's just a cinematographer. They're also directors. They're also writers. They're also filmmakers. They tell stories. They'll see your film in a perspective that you'll never see it in. And there's always, and I remember hearing from Film Riot in one of their interviews, because I know Ryan Connolly edited one of this film, and they were just saying is that one of the filmmakers just told Ryan Connolly, it's like, surprised me because we can always go back to the drawing board, back to the script, and edit like the initial design. But there's always a chance that you can bring something to the film that I would have never thought of and enhance it 100-fold. So that's what I do. I send it to the editor, and I usually, there's times where I like to do the first rough cut, but sometimes I just let them do the first rough cut, and from there they'll send the first rough cut. I'll tell them certain notes, and then they send it back. I usually like to meet up, because my whole thing is that there's a lot of like sending, and then I send notes, and then they forget a couple of notes, and they'll send it back, and then I'll be like, no, you forgot these notes, which I feel like when we're sitting there and when I say it, it's a lot easier, and it cuts off a lot of that sending back stuff. So I like to meet up, and if you can't meet up, then at that point, then you just do what you got to do, right? You got to send it a couple more times, it's fine. Once I get the edit, if it's the same editor that's gonna do the sound design and sound mixing and stuff like that, then usually they from that point on they're like, okay, we're good. Then they move on to sound, and if it's someone else, then you just take the edit and you send it over to the second person who's about to do sound. So then they'll do sound. It's the same process. They'll send you something. You give them notes. They'll send you something. They'll give you notes, and then you finish. Once you finish sound, for me, then comes the score, which essentially exact same thing over and again. So you just give them notes. For score, it's more interesting because you got more talk about like what you're going for. I'll send them like, I try not to make a temp track, but what I'll do is I'll send them a score that I would listen to. For example, for Red Eye, I send the person who did the score, I send them Hell or High Water's score. The full score for that, and I'm like, I'm trying to capture this. And I know some of you guys might be like, it didn't sound anything like that, but that's not the point. The point is I wanted this is what I was in my head, and when he came back to me and he said, give me this, I'm like, okay, this is amazing. It's not about replicating something or making like this exact thing. It's about really guiding them in a direction and making sure they don't like completely turn over the ship, figuratively anyways. There's no ship here. So you do the score, then comes the grading, and I'm missing a lot of things, but that's really about it. There's the edit, there is the sound, which includes like the mixing, the sound design, and all of that fun stuff. Then there is the score for me, then there's grading, and then there's just showing people around getting a couple of things. Also, if you're working with a bunch of people, when I get the rough cut, especially once the sound finishes, I usually start sending it to people, like people who I really trust. I really find that really important. You should always find yourself a group of like really dedicated film fans, at least in my head, especially in the post-production process, and get a lot of their opinions, especially people who I don't think you should be sending it to like actors and people like that that aren't in your head aren't filmmakers or like just like more filmmakers than they are just performers. Because, and I know a lot of actors are gonna be like, whoa, you talking shit? No. What I mean is that a lot of actors, when they see it, they'll see their performance, right? It's like when you take pictures for your family, and then you're showing your family a picture and you think it's amazing, and they're like, I don't like it. And you're like, why? You're like, I'm making a weird face. And it's like, oh no, but that's not what I'm talking about. The picture is still fantastic because of the composition, because of whatever. But they won't see that. They see themselves, right? So actors, a lot of actors, and there's going to be filmmakers, right? There's also filmmakers in the actors. There's people who, they understand that when you're sending it to you, you're sending it to them. You're talking about everything. You're talking about the film as a whole, the cutting, the pace, the score, the sound design, how did it feel like as a whole? Was it working? Was it not? But there's others who are just going to be like, I didn't like my performance. You're like, I thought it was great, but I'm not talking about that. So I don't recommend, and it varies on circumstance, but generally I don't send the rough cuts to the actors. I send when it's getting really near the end, or sometimes I'll send them like cool things, like them shooting a weapon, something that they couldn't see. Like they're like, I don't know how this is gonna look on set, but then you show them to like, oh god, it looks cool. So you can hype them, because that's also really important. It's also, while you're doing that, there's a lot for them waiting, so it's really important to still talk to them, be like, it's going amazing, I just wanted to let you guys know, so that they can like create hype in a sense, right? Because most short films end up online, right? So it's very important to try to create the biggest ripple effect, and the way to do that is to hype your cast, crew, and all of the people, so that you can try to create it together. That's really about it for this first episode of this how-to series. There's a lot more to talk about, and I know a lot of you guys, especially some of the filmmakers who probably are more experienced than me, because I am not the most experienced filmmaker in the world. I'm not the least experienced, but I'm not the most. This is just my process. If you guys disagree with me with anything, just leave it in the description. We'll have a conversation. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe you're doing something wrong and you realize it through my videos. I'm just hoping to reach the couple of people that constantly just talk to me, and I know a lot of people who are trying to get into the film world that just don't know how, or don't know what the process is, or don't know like, how does post-production work? Do I send it to sound first, or editing first, or blah? And if there's anything you guys want to talk about in specific, in terms, let's say, editing or writing, or how I do dialogue, or how I do this, or how I do that, leave it in the description, not the description, in the comments. We'll start a conversation, and I'll make those videos too. And that's really about it. I hope you guys liked this video. Just subscribe to see more. Again, if you guys haven't seen the films I've made, they're in the description below, not in the comments. I get comments and descriptions constantly mixed up. I hope you guys subscribe to see more content. I post vlogs, probably a couple a week, and I'm gonna start posting these videos. And then there's a film every once in a month or every 2 months that I make. Just see, my vlogs are very centered around me making films. This is how my process is, and my films are my films. Talk to you guys later. Peace.